Timothy, I got a letter for you.
Oh, thank you.
They gave it to me by mistake.
Timothy. I, Paul, am an apostle on special assignment for Christ, our living hope. Under God our Savior's command, I'm writing this to you, Timothy, my son in the faith. All the best from our God in Christ be yours. On the way to the province of Macedonia, I advised you to stay in Ephesus. Well, I haven't changed my mind. Stay right there on top of things so that the teaching stays on track. Apparently, some people have been introducing fantasy stories and fanciful family trees that digress into silliness instead of pulling the people back into the center, deepening faith and obedience. The whole point of what we're urging is simply love. Love uncontaminated by self-interest and counterfeit faith. A life open to God. Those who fail to keep to this point soon wander off into cul-de-sacs of gossip. They set themselves up as experts on religious issues, but haven't the remotest idea of what they're holding forth with such imposing eloquence. It's true that moral guidance and counsel need to be given, but the way you say it and to whom you say it are as important as what you say. It's true that moral guidance and counsel need to be given, but the way you say it and to whom you say it are as important as what you say. It's obvious, isn't it? That the law code isn't primarily for people who live responsibly, but for the irresponsible who defy all authority, riding roughshod over God. Roughshod over God and life and sex and truth and whatever. They are contemptuous of this great message I've been put in charge of by this great God. I'm so grateful to Christ Jesus for making me adequate to do this work. He went out on a limb, entrusting me with this ministry. The only credentials I brought to it were invective and witch hunts and arrogance. I was treated mercifully because I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know who I was doing it against. Grace mixed with faith and love poured over me and into me, and all because of Jesus. Here's a word you can take to heart and depend on. Jesus Christ came into the world to save sinners. I'm proof. Public sinner number one. Of someone who could never have made it apart from sheer mercy. And now he shows me off, evidence of his endless patience. Those who are right on the edge of trusting him forever. Deep honor and bright glory to the King of all time, one God, immortal, invisible, ever and always, oh yes. I'm passing this work on to you, my son Timothy. The prophetic word that was directed to you prepared us for this. All those prayers are coming together now, so you will do this well. Fearless in your struggle, keeping a firm grip on your faith and on yourself. After all, this is a fight we're in. A letter from Paul. It's always good to hear from Father Paul. Last week we talked some about forgiveness. Specifically how forgiveness is often for our own hearts and souls. Those times that we forgive people and things and without their ever knowing it. But sometimes, in relationships that we have, we do wrong to someone, they do wrong to us. Something, an unkind word, all kinds of variety of things. But they might ask us for forgiveness, or we might ask them for forgiveness. And now it's a two-way street. And when forgiveness is in that kind of a situation, it involves another thing that we talked about this morning, that's mercy. Mercy is a good thing, isn't it? We want mercy for ourselves, don't we? We want justice for everybody else. Justice is getting what you deserve. Mercy is not getting what you deserve. And I know when I did something bad, I would a lot rather have mercy from my mom than justice. Justice was usually a fly swatter. She couldn't spank hard enough to... My brother and sister, much older than me, would laugh at her when she spanked them, so by the time I came around, she found better ways. Thank you. That fly swatter would sting, too. I begged for mercy. No, I didn't really beg for mercy. But I would have appreciated it. Because mercy is a whole lot better than justice. Sometimes. Sometimes justice is necessary too. As I followed the story of Trooper Butterfield this week, the judge repeatedly had shown mercy to the young man in all his run-ins with the police, and only served just a few days of each jail sentence he got, and he was a young man, and he was in trouble, and a bad family, and the judge repeatedly showed him mercy. And now he's killed a policeman, rather than sitting in jail, which is where justice would have said he should have been. So it's a struggle sometimes to know. In fact, justice and mercy play against each other. If you think about it, it's interesting if you research the words, you'll find justice a whole lot more than mercy in the Old Testament, and mercy a whole lot more than justice in the New Testament. And I think maybe one of the things Jesus was trying to do was to bring a balance back to God's people. They've gotten so far into justice that for every little tiny thing you were in trouble. And Jesus was trying to say, yeah, but you gotta have compassion. You gotta have mercy too. And sometimes if we go too far in that direction, then there's that cry for justice. And it plays out differently whether we are talking about individuals or societies and structures. 2 years ago at the General Conference, we had a service of forgiveness for the Anglos in relation to the Native American peoples. Not like individually we needed to do that necessarily, but corporately we did. Quite honestly, I think that probably the casinos are the best justice. Think about that. They could never get the white man's money from the government, so, they get it from the tables and the bandits now. There's something righteous about that. Even though we're against gambling, I'm sorry. But it just seems fitting somehow. I don't know. There's just something that really appeals to native humor that should happen in the long run. And certainly, we have had many cries among the Methodists as well for writings for the wrong of the continuing legacy of slavery and racism in our country. And those kinds of things, we cry for justice. When Jesus went into the temple and threw over the money tables, that wasn't exactly mercy. He was showing. So there are times when justice is paramount. But when we get to a situation, as in our country, where we have millions of young, mostly black men incarcerated for all kinds of minor offenses. We have to start to question ourselves if we have gone justice mad, whether or not some mercy and compassion might be a better way. When it comes to us individually, I think that's where mercy plays a bigger role. When we demand satisfaction from each other, when we demand that someone pay for what they have done to us or to our loved ones or to our family. When fear and vengeance and hate and distrust and those kinds of feelings start to enter into those relationships, we're in trouble. Jesus calls us to be compassionate and merciful. To see that others don't get what they deserve, but they get another chance. Now I know there are limits to that. I know people who have been given second and third and fourth and fifth and 12th and 100th chances, and they just take advantage of it. And we've all attempted at times with people we knew this thing we call tough love. I would rather err on the side of mercy than err on the side of justice. Having said that, I do know there are times when, well, we've all had teenagers, haven't we? There are times when consequences just have to happen. And if you think about it, that's merciful in the long run, because they need to learn the lesson now before it gets really dangerous. When my daughter liked to stay up late like I did, and it was often difficult to get her out of bed in the morning. I don't know. Anybody have teenagers like that? And
U.S. Army helped that real well.
yeah, well, that would have been a good idea. There was one night when she was actually, this was in 5th grade, and she had wanted to watch a show, and I let her stay up late, and she had a perfect attendance record that year, and she was tardy that morning because I just could not get her going. No, part of that was my fault because I let her stay up. But she had to deal with the consequences of not having that perfect attendance record. And whether or not what she wanted to do was worth it. And, hopefully learning that lesson in 5th grade maybe helped a little bit when she got to, 9th and 10th, and I don't know if it did or not. I hope to think it did. All of us are called to struggle between mercy and justice. I think that's something that God calls us to do. I don't think there's any way that you can just put some kind of a blanket, rule on it, other than maybe, the default is mercy rather than justice. Maybe that's the point Jesus was trying to make in the point that Paul is trying to make to Timothy, that we have lived live our lives as Jews steeped in justice. You know, for every wrong there was this punishment or this sacrifice so that, you know, you could be forgiven, and it was all very precise, and it was all about maintaining this just order and these rules. And Jesus says, show compassion. Be loving. Let's err on this side for a while. And maybe we can overcome some of the problems that were caused by this exacting society where nobody ever got a break, and everybody was just in everybody else's business, making sure that they towed the line and did everything right. And who wants to live like that? Makes for a nice ordered society. Makes for a society that's not very creative, not very adventurous. Jesus said, give people a break. Now, you know, not to the point where it becomes ridiculous, obviously. But just be gentler with each other. Sometimes anxieties and fears get us all bound up in making sure everything's done just right. Oh, if the kids do that, they might mess up the floor. So what? You know, floors can get clean. You know, we get all bound up in that stuff. And Jesus says, look, relax. Take it easy. Give people a break. Show a little mercy. Show a little love. You know, if it doesn't work, you know, then don't do it again. If it does work, keep doing it. If it gets messed up, fix it. Just don't get so tight. Maybe we can show that kind of mercy to each other. At least within the faith community, we ought to be able to do that. Sometimes it's harder with people outside, especially drivers that, you know, run red lights and cut you off and do silly things. Try to run over you on the freeway. It's hard to be merciful. I know. But at least within the community of faith, we should be able to relax and enjoy each other's company and let people mess up once in a while. It's okay. As Paul says to Timothy, love the people. Treat them with mercy and compassion. Don't be all about making sure everybody does the right stuff all the time. The whole point, he says, is love. Love uncontaminated by self-interest and counterfeit faith. You know, keep the teachings on track, but the way you say things, you know, and who you say, it's important. More important than what you say. Trying to help this young man who's energetic and maybe got a few people upset with him. Say what? Give people some space. Allow them some time. Help them see the way. Don't force it down. The tough part, the real tough part, is when we have to forgive ourselves or show mercy to ourselves. Some of us are not real good at that. We kind of get down on ourselves. I messed up again. And we beat ourselves up about it. Remember that you love a God that loves you. And that God is always more willing to forgive you than you are yourself. And that no matter what, God is ready to sit down like a loving parent, give you a hug, and say, look, don't do that stupid thing again. But I love you, and I forgive you. And let's find a better way to do whatever happened that gets you in the trouble you're in. Charles Wesley wrote a song I want to share with you because it's one of my favorites. Good old Charles. My microphone is not being popular. I think I like this because I personally relate to so many parts of this over the course of my life. Maybe you'll find some of this in there for you too. Depth of mercy, can there be mercy still reserved for me? Can my God his wrath forbear? Me, the chief of sinners, spare. For I have long withstood his grace, long provoked him to his face, would not hearken to his calls, grieved him by 1,000 falls. I, my master, have denied, I afresh have crucified, oft profaned his hallowed name, put him to open shame. There for me the Savior stands, shows his wounds and spreads his hands. God is love, I know, I feel. Jesus weeps, loves me still. So now incline me to repent. Let me now my sins lament. Now my foul revolt deplore. Weep, believe, and sin no more. God wants to give you a break, a mulligan for golfing, a do-over, second chance, third chance, fifth chance, 12th chance. Give yourself the same thing, and give each other that same mercy.